Welcome, eCom Logistics Nation. We're thrilled to be coming to you live from the heart of Atlanta at Modex 2024, right here at the Georgia World Congress Center. A shout out to our sponsor, G&P Construction, your go-to provider for comprehensive turnkey material handling and solutions in both logistics and commercial needs. We are truly grateful for the support.
Clients want to buy the output. What are the results? I need throughput. I need labor savings. I need to get my boxes out the door. They're looking to get something out of that value.
Welcome, eCom Logistics Nation. We are excited to be here at Modex, recording live from the trade show area with our sponsors of the podcast, Jake and Tim with G&P Construction. Thank you guys for being with us today.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here, guys.
So as a way of getting started, Jake and Tim would love if you guys could share a little bit about your backgrounds. Jake, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Tim.
Yep. With G&P for about 9 years now. I'm in our sales division, then I oversee and I work with our engineering department as well, primarily geared towards pretty traditional systems, racking, pick modules, platforms, and lift equipment that you'd see in a warehouse. Been with them for about 9 years. I started off as pretty much a lower level role, project foreman up into a project manager. So I kind of saw, from the whole lower end of the business all the way to what I'm doing now, and worked my way up and got into sales. And I wanted to go into that and to be on like a customer facing role. And fortunately, Mike and Nick have been great mentors to me. And we're excited to see what the future holds and what our guy Tim here is going to be doing for us.
Amazing. Tim?
Yep. So my background, I'm an automation engineer that got into sales and then never turned back. Really, that's my background. So I went to school to play with robots and sensors and all that fun stuff. Did some lean manufacturing work, designing assembly lines and doing CapEx projects. Then got into industrial sales with Cardex and built a little mini career out of that. Spent about 15 years coming up through the ranks there, doing everything from being the sales guy all the way to build a Cardex dealership that sold, implemented, and serviced ASRS in the Midwest. After that, I went over to Young Heinrich, spent a couple of years with them, helping them with their sales and marketing with their AGV division. And then more recently, spending a little bit of time with Novus, doing some support there with their AMR solutions. And more recently, just the past couple of days, basically, worked something out here with the guys at the G&P and came on board to help them build out the system integrator group as a separate division from what they're doing existing. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What you got to tell us, because you told us this before. What convinced you to reach out to them?
Oh, yeah. So was it 7 months ago or so? I saw a LinkedIn post that Mike had, and it was them on I think Jake was on that flight too.
I'm sure I was.
And they were on this private jet, and there was an empty seat. And I think Mike said something like, this could be you in this seat. And I said, I want to be on that plane. What are you guys doing with automation? And the timing wasn't right then. But then as just here recently, I restarted conversations and the timing's right now. And here I am.
Have you been on the private jet yet?
Not on their jet. No, I've been on others, but not that one.
All right, sounds good.
It's coming.
It's coming, brother.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's coming.
Absolutely.
Every time I see these guys, it's, we are wheels up at 2:00. Yeah, but it's okay. We might push it to 3 p.m., right? Like, okay. Yeah. Right. But it's all in the name of customer service, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's at the end of the day, it's being accessible to the customer at the right place, right time. They ask you need to be there, right? And Jake, maybe just like, if you were to explain the journey, I know the Mike and Nick aren't here, but like it would be pretty awesome to hear like, how do they explain their journey? And maybe you can take a crack at that one.
Yeah, we swear the jet's not just for good LinkedIn content.
And it's real. It's a real jet. It's not a fake one.
So their journey, it's a long one. Nick and Mike's journey I'll try to summarize it a little bit. But so their dad started in the business, years and years ago. So Nick and Mike have been in it for almost 20 years, I believe, maybe longer. And they were working for their dad, and he was a small material handling guy in Cleveland. And their dad used to say, I sell vanilla. He sells very simple products to his customers and safe stuff. And Nick and Mike really wanted to expand. They were young entrepreneur type guys. And they were like, I want to push outside the box and, start dabbling into all the things that material handling has to offer and the solutions that we could provide our clients and stuff like that. And so they eventually started to go out and branched out on their own. And G&P over the years, like we started mainly doing a lot of in the liquidation space and buying back warehouses and doing resale of used equipment, things like that. And then we were also involved on the new sales as well. But that business kind of started to take off a couple of years ago as our clientele started to increase. So our market share and the clients that we were attracting, we're starting to grow in size from small 3PLs and things like that to clients that have 50, 100, 150 warehouses. And over the years, we went from a small group to, I'd say we're still relatively a small company. We've got a little under 100 employees, but we do some really big projects, right? And we work with really big clients. And our goal has always been to, regardless of the size, we've had exponential growth over the last couple of years, but to never sacrifice our core value of customer service. And everybody says that, right? Oh, I want to have good customer service. It's a basic of any business, but like we really try to embody that we want to deliver our clients a really seamless experience, be easy to work with, provide them tailored solutions that are fast, affordable, and, present really, really good value and returns to them. And I think Nick's always like, when he meets somebody, he's like, oh, call Nick, call Jake, call Mike. Jake will answer the phone at 2 a.m. for you. But he's right.
Jake will answer his phone.
As long as I hear it, Nick's going to be like, Jake won't answer because he's sleeping like I will if I hear it. So, but no, really, I mean, we try to just embody going above and beyond, making it a really easy experience. And I think on the automation side, as we're kind of transitioning to what Tim's going to be doing, was we had opportunities there. We're doing some really big build out projects like on my end with racking systems and platforms, things like that. And we've had the opportunities to do some automation work, but for us, we didn't want to sacrifice our reputation if we didn't have the right pieces in place. So now that's the steps we're taking is to put those people there. And we don't want to leave that, but some of the things we're seeing is like, man, there's this gap from maybe middle market, even to a large market on automation projects that we get some feedback from our clients of people they work with. And there's sometimes not always a good experience. And, these projects are expensive and things like that. So we want to take that base fundamental of just deliberate and really detailed customer service and transition it to this automation phase and the group that Tim's going to be leading and still provide a really, really easy to work with experience. And I think Tim embodies that. And, you can make a difference in a company like us when you've got Nick and Mike are very involved. There's not a whole lot of chains of command that you got to go through to really get to the top, right? And Nick and Mike are still, they're heavily involved on the day-to-day business. So if you want to make a change for a client, if Tim is, working on a project, Tim's going to be able to do that.
It's like, okay, we install racks and storage system and platforms all day long.
Yep.
To a lot of people, it feels like just leaning into and saying, oh, I can do installation of like automation, right?
Yeah.
It's like, our business is software, right? Just because someone can build a website does not mean they can build a WMS. I think there is a very big difference. And again, I'm not minimizing building a website because there's some really complex websites.
Yeah.
That requires a level of specialization. And then there is, the building of like a WMS or any application. That's a whole different universe. And I think that's the level of difference. They might look fairly similar, but bringing in automation to say, okay, we can do it. I can say yes, but I'm not going to be able to deliver on the promise I'm going to make to the customer until I actually build up a practice that allows me to do that. And so as long as you follow that ethos and then kind of build on top of it, I think the market definitely needs more of that.
Yeah, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. Like we're going to put a lot of effort into it, a lot of investments on the cash side. And I think we want to just put the right people in place, and it's going to be a work in progress, right? Like Tim's not going to be able to do this all on his own. But I think Tim will have our full support to build a team around him and leverage some of our existing customer base to, hopefully develop that a lot faster than we might be expecting.
Absolutely. And I will say this, and Tim probably already is putting plans together and basically presenting budgets and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of good people. Mm-hmm. The good news is there is actually a lot of good people out there.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are absolutely solid on that front. So it's going to look really interesting in the market, how a turnkey solution looks like. Hey, I'm going to step into your warehouse. I'm going to do it all until everything's done, hand you the key, and then be there to support you and be there for continuous improvement and be there to ensure that you can grow to the levels that you want to grow.
Yeah.
Because a lot of companies are like, okay, I'm one and done. I'm walk away, right? Like at the end of the day, I think that's where the key differentiator is going to come in. If you truly show that value that you have shown on the customer service side for sure.
One of our clients, I won't say her name, but she's in the UK. She's retired now. She said that people like us, we want one dog to kick. And that's the truest thing we've ever heard. When you hire an integrator or a contractor, you want that person to handle everything from start to finish.
I like that.
I don't want
The throat to choke.
One throat to choke. Like at the end of the day, it's me. You're going to choke my throat.
Maybe she meant just nudge him in the butt or something. They talk a little differently.
Exactly. They're a little different.
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked about these guys is that they're very intentional, and that's something that's lacking in this industry is, you have plenty of people that'll go out there and sell you something, but to be intentional about delivering a beautiful customer experience, that's really awesome. That's golden because that's what people really want. They don't want to just buy a bunch of products and try to put them all together. They really want you to come out there, take care of them, make sure that they're taken care of. Few clients actually want to buy a product. They want to buy the output. What are the results? I need throughput. I need labor savings. I need to get my boxes out the door. They're not really like, oh, I want to buy this fancy piece of machinery just because it's fancy and nice. No, they're looking to get something out of that value.
And they also want validation, right? So you might have internal industrial engineers as an organization and you go, okay, we need a site, right? We need to bring in GTP because our profile says that we need the goods to person and we need like a packing solution and some unit sortation or, some, ship sort, etc. But it's still just an internal input. When another company kind of comes in and goes, okay, let me give you that level of validation to say, yeah, this is what it is. If all things being equal, the information you have provided me is accurate, then with a lot of confidence, I can tell you that this is the throughput you're going to expect on the other side. When you get that level of confidence, then building an ROI business case for that type of capital investment starts becoming much easier. It's just that second level of validation. Like, why people would hire some of those expensive consulting companies, the Boston Consulting, the McKinseys, the Mercers, or Fulfillment IQs of the world is because you want to get that second pair of validation to say, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Let's move forward. And if you can add on top of that, because most of those companies, guess what they do? They come in, they validate, they walk away. What you are responsible for is saying, I'm going to validate, but I'll also see it through.
Exactly.
And I'll be there on the other side if something was not to go right.
Yeah.
And when it does go right, then it becomes a word of mouth and more business comes in. And you see that with a lot of companies out here. Great companies, by the way, at Modex that does that particular business. But a lot of them kind of focus on the last 100 feet or the first 100 feet or just the picking, or you're a robotic solution that does a particular task, right? This is about expanding the overall portfolio to say, let me give you the turnkey end to end.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about creating the actual solution, And you mentioned the internal resources. A lot of those guys, they're in those facilities day in, day out, and they don't get to see everything that's out there. So as consultants and as people that are in this business, you get to know the players, who's good, who's not, and what's new and what's old school. So, that's where we can lend our hindsight to be able to provide some foresight to those folks internal to those companies,
Completely agree, man. Yeah. Completely.
We talked about validation, but what if there's an organization where G&P Construction has a great relationship and they just know they're having a problem? So there's not even something to validate. There's just a problem like my labor costs are too high. I'm not getting the right throughput. Is that where you would come in and the new automation service would come in and even pre-validation and say, hey, let me come in and learn about the business and let me present some options that I think would make sense for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely the best time. So Jake gets a client, says, we just need somebody to come in here and tell us what's going on. What can we do to make something better? It could just be that broad stroked of, I need to make things better. I have some pains here. And we could just come in, take a walk around, look at some data, see if they even have data. A lot of places, the data is bad, it's dirty data, but we could go in there and put our eyes on it and start making some recommendations for quick, simple wins, and then maybe even provide a structured plan of, okay, right now, this is what we see as immediate concerns. And then over the next 12 to 18 months, this is where you could end up. Providing that vision of, this is what automation could do for you guys, or maybe other technologies. This is what else could be a value to your team. But yeah, absolutely. The best time to get in on these projects is before somebody's come in there already and put a proposal in front of them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to go back because we talked about this a little bit, Jake, in the prep, going back to G&P Construction, kind of core business. And as someone who's launched 3PL facilities across North America, and unfortunately at times have taken them down, one of the things that you had mentioned, and I love your perspective, is a lot of times organizations will just automatically feel that when they're winding down a building, that whatever racking or shelving or basically steel is in that building, the best thing to do is to call someone who's going to cut it down and scrap it. They're going to get some scrap metal funds for it. I think there's an opportunity to educate the market a little bit too, that that's not the only path forward. It's certainly not the most sustainable path forward. So maybe talk about when you get that phone call, what's the process, and when do you kind of see it make sense for a client?
Yeah. So typically we want to kind of analyze what their situation is. Like I was saying, it's case by case. It could be a number of different things. If they're going through a downsize or a consolidation, or maybe they're just moving, and the initial concept and thought is you spend all this pretty significant investment, right? When you installed this stuff, maybe it's a couple of years ago, there might be a potential home for it. Even if you're going through a downsize, if that equipment has some sort of value that we deem, we'll come in and consult with you. And that's no charge for that. I mean, it's really just us doing a quick analysis of what you have from an asset standpoint and saying, there's some tangible value here that you can get back. And maybe that's in terms of us just buying it straight out from the client. We retain those assets and we handle all the decommission of that site. And from there, we pull everything out. Or if they're moving, there could be some hidden savings in the cost of the new building where maybe some of this equipment could be repurposed into the new building and implemented. And we'll help them also. Sometimes people jump ahead, and I was saying it's like a double-edged sword because they're like, oh, I'm getting a new building. I've got all this stuff and it's 10 years old or 15 years old, but it's just rack. I'm going to move it over to this new building. Well, there's not always a scenario for that because you might not be code compliant for current building, fire codes and all that stuff. So we'll help you figure that out. And again, if it's not, and you need to upgrade it, you might still have that opportunity to get some sort of positive offer back on your current equipment. When on the flip side, we'll also help them if they are moving out of a building, say returning a lease back to the landlord, we'll help them with that process of their lease turn back and their obligations to that landlord for potentially bringing it back to spec, or if they put any improvements into the building.
Okay.
So we'll take it a step further and help them with that. That kind of lends into our white box solution. And so maybe we're buying their assets back, providing a value there, but we're also helping them navigate the process to turn the building back over and make sure they're compliant with the landlord and their lease so they don't have any penalties incurred on that end.
Amazing.
It's like very consultative, right? It says MHE sales and installation, automation, tenant improvement, white box liquidation. There is a part that's consultation, right? Like it's not just going in and be like, let me just help liquidate all of this. Like that's not the case. It's like, let's find the best solution for what you got going right now.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's all in one umbrella, right? Like our sales cycle and our life cycle of a client could be any number of those factors under our headline there. I mean, there's a lot of different services that we can provide and areas of value that we can kind of dig up and find for people because we want our clients to focus on like what they're good at, right? Whether it's a 3PL and getting as many shipments as you can out the door in an efficient manner. Let us help alleviate some of these stresses if you are going through a move or maybe a downsizing. Let's try to find some value there and you focus on your business.
Right.
But yeah, from a consulting standpoint, I mean, there's a lot of different things we could do. I think the basis of it is just give a phone call and let's just kind of take a look at the deal that you're, navigating at the moment. There could be we've had some of our best deals come out of that where you can get some significant value back on the assets you have.
That is awesome.
And for you, Tim, as we're kind of getting close to the end here, is there, for those that are listening, is there an ICP, so to speak, or is there, when should someone reach out to you? And I guess what's the best way for them to find you, whether that's on LinkedIn or X, wherever you might spend some time on social media?
Yeah, I would say as an ICP, it's pretty varied depending on the size of the company. Anyone, an engineer all the way up to a chief operations officer. But really, we're looking for those folks that have a problem, and they're not really sure where to even to start. That to me is the ideal ICP.
Love that.
Is that I'm in charge of this facility or these facilities, and I just need some help. So come to us. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn, as well as our website, gmpconstruction.com. Now, why wait?
Right.
It doesn't hurt to have a conversation, and we could just talk about what it is that you're trying to do. Maybe we can provide you some insights and at least point you in the right direction. Even if it's not with us, we can help you get started. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyone looking for a job, if you're an engineer, call Tim because he's going to be hiring a lot of those.
Well, as soon as we posted that I made this change, the second LinkedIn message I received was somebody that just sent me the resume and says, when can we talk?
Exactly.
That was it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just a resume and be like, when can we talk? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake, before you close out, I do have a question. I feel like you are kind of the bellwether of the industry, right? Like what you guys do. You get to see who's closing, why are they closing, are they moving, are they expanding, how many new sites are coming up, right? Just deal flow activity would kind of indicate a bellwether to where the trajectory of the general market ends up going. That's my assessment. I want your assessment. 2023, it was a shit year as far as the industry is concerned. You guys did pretty well, I would assume, because it was bad. But you could do well in good year and bad years, right? So you look forward into 2024. I think a lot of people want to know, like, what do you guys think? Like, what's the general consensus of where does 2024?
Yeah, we were talking earlier. I think it's kind of a market correction in a way from prior years. Like now we're past that and we're kind of, the dust is settling, in my opinion, where you had this rapid growth and grow at all cost model. And, people are just moving into buildings and buying up as much real estate as they can. And, the consumer is going to change forever. And then like we kind of went back to normal, right? Pretty quick. And I don't think people expected that as much. So now you're kind of seeing some fallout from that. We're seeing a lot more deal activity on the consolidation side from some buildings that are maybe from COVID and they open into some markets where they're looking to kind of consolidate. And, I'm seeing a lot of larger complex facilities that are moving into more like micro and regional fulfillment areas. But I still think the growth there is there for the new development on our side of the business where we're doing new sites. I think that the customer and the consumer is smarter today. Kind of how Tim was saying, some customers, they either don't really know what they want. I think there's a market for that where they're a little, they need some help. But for the most part, a lot of these guys, they know exactly what they want. Oh, yeah. The average buyer today is extremely smart, predictive models and things like that. We might know what their next purchase is going to be before they even do. Or in a case like Amazon, for example, everybody knows about that. So I think that we're going to see companies be a little bit more targeted and selective that are going to adapt. And I think that when we get into things like AI and automation, you're going to see this hybrid approach, in my opinion, a hybrid approach of how we can blend and make smarter warehouses that are more efficient. And I think people are going to look at, and rather than expanding and just moving out of your four walls and going to getting four new walls, how can I make my current four walls a lot more efficient and optimal and make the most volume under that one roof? I think you're going to see more projects that are geared towards that versus maybe potentially like brand new greenfield projects.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Consolidation's good. I think specifically the industry itself requires that post-pandemic, as you called out, and the smarter customers are making the right choices, right directions. I think the ball's going in the right direction for sure. 2024 might not be, the blowout sale that a lot of people want it to be, but it's going to be the year of stabilization, I guess. It's not going to be as shitty as last year.
Yeah. You had a lot of uncertainty in the market last year.
Exactly.
I think that I agree with that statement.
Exactly.
I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you again for sponsoring the podcast here at Modex 2024. Really appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. It was great.
Thanks. As we bring another episode to a close here at Modex, we want to extend our gratitude to G&P Construction for their sponsorship of the podcast. If you're in need of top-notch, all-inclusive material handling solutions for logistics and commercial real estate, look no further than G&P Construction. Be sure to visit GANDPconstruction.com to discover your one-stop shop for turnkey MHE integrations.
Hi, I'm Ninad Acharya, CEO and co-founder of Fulfillment IQ, and I'm here with
Dan Coll, CRO and partner at Fulfillment IQ. We're the team behind the eCom Logistics podcast. Our mission is to provide you with genuine insights from our work alongside logistics leaders to help you improve your supply chain.
In the eCom Logistics podcast, we share the knowledge and the insights we've gained from working alongside amazing brands, retailers, 3PLs, and VCs, so you can make the most out of your supply chain journey.
If you like what you're hearing, we'd truly appreciate your support with a 5-star rating on your favorite podcasting channel. Your feedback not only keeps us going, but also helps others find the podcast. If you think Fulfillment IQ can assist you, or if you have an idea related to logistics, just reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're always up for a chat and ready to explore new possibilities together.
Stay tuned to the eCom Logistics podcast on your favorite podcast platform for fresh and practical insights into e-commerce and logistics. Until next time, let's keep making a difference.